Okay. Okay, try that. Aphrodite, would you like to introduce yourself?
Is this thing on?
I believe it is on now, darling.
Hello, darlings. My name is Aphrodite. I am the goddess of love, passion, fertility, and all things gorgeous.
Speaking of all things gorgeous, Hecate, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Hecate. I am the goddess of crossroads, witchcraft, magic. I am the patron to warlocks, and I'm also the goddess of poisons, alchemy, necromancy, dogs.
Doggos!
I think that sums it up. Yeah.
Just about. Also, is somebody watching the stream right now whilst we're streaming?
It was Zoe.
That may someone whilst they were providing me with wine.
Okay, fair enough.
Valid reason.
I don't want to upset anybody, but can we please now introduce the most amazing-looking god of today, Apollo?
Hello.
Excuse
Have
me.
you seen his outfit?
Rude.
Darling,
Look at my wall of weapons from
To be
Festus
fair-
and Hermes.
you get god points from me.
And me.
And me.
Yep.
He looks
So we're giving
amazing.
favour to Apollo this week.
So yes, Apollo, would you like to introduce yourself? So mainly so you can talk and we can look at you more.
I'm Apollo, god of music, poetry, art, of the oracles, archery with my sister Artemis, god of healing as well, and the people aren't nice. I do plagues and have like knowledge as well.
Yeah, I gave you that, Luke.
What? Who gave me what?
Yes, I said you give me that there. It's not lit from there.
Hey, look at that. Hey.
He forgets as well, he's also god of sexiness.
Yep, and if Festus is both, what you give me?
He is today. Moving on before I embarrass myself. We've met him. We've learnt to tolerate him. Hera loves him. Aphrodite has him. Ares, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Ares, god of war.
Ow!
Only thing we trust on
Dan
this.
and is that it? Okay, you're Ares, god of war. Well, that's fair.
That is all we need.
That's all my baby boy needs to say.
Please don't try and make him say any more. He'll follow.
He's maxed out his 5-word limit of being able to
Yeah,
think.
he's done.
That's
Oh, leave him alone.
right,
No.
And finally, last but not least, depending on who you ask, Poseidon, would you like to introduce yourself?
Greetings all. I am Poseidon, the god of earthquakes, the god of storms, and the sea. So that's the big three, right?
I think that about covers it, yeah. Okay, right, without...
And I think we need to recap the game. Hermes.
Yeah.
Other ones.
Dionysus, say hello.
Greetings, mortals. I am Dionysus, god of wine. Memphis.
Hephaestus, say hello.
You've caught him out Hephaestus. again.
Hephaestus, god of blacksmiths, metalworking, carpenters, craftsmen, artisans, sculptors, metallurgy, fire, and volcanoes.
Okay, Hera, quickly, say hello.
No
I
one
am Hera,
cares.
Queen of the gods.
Bit of a cow.
Hermes, go for it.
Hi, Hermes, messenger of gods, wearing black for ominous foretellings of mercy's doom.
And there we
It gets worse every time.
Okay, and then we have some other people as well. We've introduced them already, and I think you could hear it from that point. Without further ado, we will go to our opening screen before something else goes wrong and I just cry and all my makeup runs. See you in a sec.
Awkward laughing.
Welcome back. You don't want to know. Okay. So there's a couple of topics. Obviously, we'll get into who did well, but there's a couple of topics we want to go into as well. To kick things off, I think, how do you think things went last episode compared to obviously the episode 1? Let's talk about combat first, because we had a combat in each session. How do you think they handled themselves in combat compared to they did in the debut?
Much worse.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Excessive.
They're napping a lot.
I'm just going to put this out there that there's not much that we agree on, but I think we all agree on one particular thing, and we are not happy with someone.
Yes, we will get onto that. Don't worry, we'll get onto that. But yeah, so we had 2 players down this week. Thankfully not out, because I'm not that cruel. I mean, I'm cruel, but that'd be a little bit mean. But something I did want to bring up, someone I think that redeemed themselves a little bit after episode 1, Gabriel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did very well.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did do very well.
We'll go to Poseidon, since he's a paladin of Poseidon.
Yes.
What did you think? Obviously, episode 1, episode 2, yeah.
I think he got off to a little bit of a bad social start with the group. Maybe they're not used to having a devout paladin amongst them. But yeah, no, he seemed to do an awful lot better in the second game. I'm starting to get a little bit more respect for the boy.
Yeah, I think
hopefully he's improving.
He dived in, like, literally.
He literally dived into
Yeah. Someone that we still haven't seen shine in combat on the other side. I know that Mercy and Run ended up on the floor. But Alma is still finding her feet. I mean, to be fair, she is a 13-year-old girl. Yeah. But yeah, Alma still finding her feet in combat. What do we think, guys? What do you think? What advice would you give to her?
Get a better weapon.
Yeah, and confidence. Okay, so it seems like because of her age, she seems unconfident of her own abilities. They're there.
Yeah,
you can tell that they're there. But I think maybe the others, because they're older and possibly more, what's the word?
Arrogant.
Yes.
Oh no, that's you
loud.
guys. Sorry.
Loud. That maybe they maybe make her feel like she's incapable by the way that they treat her. So maybe if they treat her a little bit better, she might feel a bit more confident to do it. Like, what I think she needs to do is, instead of thinking about doing spells, she needs to just hit something with something. Pick something up, whack them on the head.
Yeah, she empowered a stick, and then she could hit someone with a stick. I see what. Yeah. Dionysus.
Angry little girl. I think she can do it.
Dionysus.
I'd suggest, given the ability she discovered towards the end of last episode, my advice to her would just be Teeth and Claws. Teeth and Claws, little one. They never expect you to go straight for the jugular, particularly before you turn into a wolf.
Yeah, especially as a moon druid, where you've got a lot, transformations are a lot bigger thing than other subclasses. That's something, if you're not too confident with spells as a druid, you can just, like you say, Tooth and Claw, rip out the jugular, go for it.
I am not combat. I don't do combat. I do other means of fighting, and I have won many a battle, so she can do it too.
She usually bats her eyes at the strongest person around. It works.
I was going to say, it works.
It does work.
So yeah, we can't say anything. It works.
Although I will say, I'm kind of enjoying her awareness of her surroundings, keeping an awareness on stuff outside of the initial kind of like combat space.
Yeah.
Potentially for other threats and other assistances that could come in. I did notice that. That's like, as much as she's not diving in headfirst with Teeth and Claw, hopefully now that she can actually get Tooth and Claw, she'll do that. But
yeah,
keeping an awareness of her surroundings is absolutely key.
Yeah, definitely. Not necessarily, well, actually, on the flip side of that, Ares, you're arguably, with Athena not around, you're our combat specialist. What do you have to say on...
I mean, I'd argue I'm always the combat specialist, even with Athena around.
Well, you're God.
Yeah, wrong argument.
Nobody asked you. So, it's interesting. She's definitely getting there. She needs her experience. She does have that new-blooded warrior look to her. She's thinking about her strategy. She's thinking about her tactics, but she's just not deploying them. So I think others have been right. She does just need to find herself a bit of confidence and try get in there, and I think actually she could probably shine.
Yeah, fair enough. Right. Moving on from combat, probably getting to the point where you all want to get to, socially. How do you think they handled themselves this time? Because again, Gabriel wasn't the main cock-up this time.
Creepy one.
Yeah.
No.
Well.
Yeah, go on, Dionysus.
I will say Isidore is going to be getting a spanking for being rude to guests. However, I think Gabriel and Alma do bring a degree of diplomacy to the group, which is otherwise sorely lacking.
Hear, hear.
Mhm.
And I think, particularly given that Mercy is claiming to represent Persephone, who I would argue is one of the most level-headed of us, she really needs to learn her manners.
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
And I think she'll learn her lesson in the coming few sessions. I think something will encourage her to maybe reassess the way she's approaching certain situations.
Yes.
Mercy, as is beholden to my duties as messenger of the gods to you, not only dressed in black attire for your imminent doom, but I also bring to you a message from Persephone.
Oh.
You're letting the side down.
Oh, wow. Oh, Aphrodite. No.
Sorry.
Angry. She's just
I'm sorry. Like, if you're going to keep popping them out, you might as well show them off.
I know. Can't help it, darling. I'm just so beautiful.
Right. Does anybody else want to throw some shade before it turns into bullying, and then we'll get into constructive feedback?
We
can have
it's
both.
not shade.
We can have
It's
both.
not shade, but I felt like Alma did really well actually pointing out to Mercy that what she probably said wasn't as constructive as it should have been. And Alma's, is it 13?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So being told that kind of how you're acting by a 13-year-old girl, maybe, yeah, she
Not just
needs...
Alma as well. Like, again, I won't show favourites because I hate them all. But Gabriel, he
Yeah, I was going
actively
to
went
say
and
that.
apologised as well about
Yeah.
sassing
Yeah.
her.
That was noted. That was noted that he specifically said that she wasn't speaking for all of them with her response. Which, to be fair, I would never target innocent bystanders. Not on purpose, but Aphrodite. It happens by accident sometimes, but that's just the danger with.
That's a story from another dungeon.
One guy exploded. Okay, one guy.
You kissed him. And that was it.
That happens to me all the time.
I know, right?
But yeah, so looking forward, obviously, we like players, or at least I do, we like players to bite back. We don't want pushovers, but how would you, I'm going to choose someone that hasn't spoken. Apollo, for example, you're quite diplomatic. You're quite wise with having the Oracle there. I said, how would you have handled a similar situation? What advice would you give to Mercy about still keeping that fire, but without,
Yeah, there's a lot of the attitude. I think she kind of realized towards the end she has made a mistake. But again, there are four people thrown together who don't know each other, so they're trying to get to know each other. Mercy has a wall up there. She's not really probably socially interacted with people before, so we don't know what she's came from, what she's been through. So that's three. Alma's slowly coming out of her shell. Same with Gabriel. He's done very well, talking and trying to dispute situations themselves, but just really trying to interact with each other better, just to know who can talk and who shouldn't talk.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe just, when she's getting to that point, there's other diplomats there. It's not like because that's something I found in this, is that most parties have one person that can talk, one person that's really good at fighting, one person that's the healer, whereas these guys kind of all fill similar roles.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've got...
Apart from Runt, who just charges headlong in.
Saying that, something I've noticed from, I don't know about you guys, as people here rather than gods, but except maybe Ares, but like your usual like barbarian smashy type is a lot less talkative and diplomatic than Runt seems to be.
He reads a very playful character and very.
Maybe there's a reason he left Sparta. There might be a reason.
Because he can string a sentence together.
Actually, that is a good leading on from that. One of the topics I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about is one of the reasons. Yeah, he did leave Sparta, and we kind of maybe got a little hint to that in the session towards the end, where he met with one of his old comrades and was talking about that, and obviously him and Gabriel had that conversation about things. And so one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is, again, it might be more towards the people than the gods, but feel free, is backstories. Every character needs one.
Love a good backstory. Love a good backstory.
Yeah. So how would you, just so we're not talking, because this could be an episode of itself, just maybe, go around everybody. What is the first thing you guys do in terms of, what's most important to you guys when making a backstory? Because we have seen, obviously I know what they're doing, and we've seen hints now, but going forward, how would you guys best plot out a backstory? We'll go from right to left. So Poseidon.
I like to research the setting of the game or the story and see what jumps out at me, maybe see what's possibilities, maybe like look for little off phrases or keywords or something that might like send me off on a tangent for like a story idea. That's simply where I would go from.
Yeah. Okay. We're asking Jack now because Ares is probably like me hit things.
It's not that bad. Come on now.
That's Jack. Oh yeah. Well, you are part of a plot team for it's an all right LARP system, I suppose.
No,
who'd be plotting for that?
I know who'd do that.
So backstories. Talking of like players, NPCs, villains. I mean, we'll go more into villains once we get to a certain person. But yeah. Yeah. What makes a good backstory to you?
I like to work out where my character has come from. So be that where they were born or what's happened in their history or what has brought them to where they are now. So that allows me to then role play as appropriate when I'm doing whatever I am currently. And, it allows me to have, if I've fought against something or you have your village that's been attacked by something or whatever it may be, it means that when that might happen to crop up within the game, you can sort of react as appropriate there. And then you sort of find a bit more about your backstory as you go along. So as you're playing, you almost bring more bits of your backstory out.
Yeah, of course. And a good DM will give you those opportunities as well. That's why I think it's important. If you've got a very quick tangent, something I discussed with a fellow DM recently was how it's annoying when players will. Obviously, you keep your backstory and you keep stuff from the other characters because your character may do that, but keeping stuff from the DM in terms of your backstory and then kind of trying to reveal it in play. No, don't do it. There is this big stigma, I think, of DM. It's DM versus the player, and if you tell the DM the idea you have, then the DM is going to ruin it for you. Not true.
No.
Me personally, and all the DMs I know, if we get backstory, we love that because it means that we no longer have to focus on our plot and just our ideas. We can help your ideas grow. So if we don't know about something, we're not going to be able to do that. So if you have an idea for your backstory, tell your GM about it. Whatever system or game that is, tell them about it. And they will want to help you grow that and give you opportunities to react with that, like Jack was saying. Again, it
probably cut back in very slightly. Sort of as someone who's run a lot of LARP systems and does plot stuff out there, we love it when players bring us stuff and players sort of have their almost their backstory or whatever they want to do, and they bring that to us because that means that we can then react to that as accordingly and bring them parts of the plot that they want to play with rather than just going, well, we do have all this plot we've written here, but if you want to interact with this bit or something different, we can bring that to you and bring you the stuff that you want to play with.
Yeah, if we just wanted it to be our story, we'd write a book.
Yeah.
So we'll keep moving because, again, this could be, and it might be, an episode of itself. And maybe, in the future, we might sit down with a few of you and have bigger chats like this. But for now, we'll move on. So, Apollo, Gary, what makes a good backstory for you? What makes,
Starting off characters, trying to keep it simple. Three pointers, because you never know if you're going to make it that far, because you can die so early on. And then interact with if you're the GM, to build up how you want your character to go and give them ideas, and they'll give you ideas back and feed in the story.
Yeah, definitely. That's something we did with this campaign is from the very beginning, I said to them, this is the setting, like Stu was saying, learn the setting, this is the setting, come up with your idea, tell me about it, and then I will adapt it to fit my setting more, and then you tell me if that works or not, and you play back and forth with them. Someone's just commented, the DM facilitates fun and occasional peril, which I would argue are the same thing. Just saying. So definitely, again, communicate with your GM. You can come up with, it might not be the thing you have in your head, but it'll be something that might be better if it interacts with the world better. So yeah, definitely have that back and forth. It's a creative process,
Be flexible with your backstory as well, because it can change and
expect change in it.
Yeah, definitely. And remember, as soon as you start the game, your creative control has kind of been surrendered almost a little bit. You control what your character does, but all of those events you came up with, that's fine. Once you get to the present, those events are down to the GM.
And don't get annoyed when they come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
You're in the first place.
And don't get upset if they don't go the way you had them in your head, because that's it's not always going to work out like that. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be a bad thing. Okay, Hecate, you beautiful arcane queen, you. What makes a good backstory for you?
I'm actually pretty much the opposite of what Apollo would kind of go for with the whole, keep it in little brief things. I kind of just throw everything into it at the same time, and it works for me, but I suppose different things work for different people. So
do you have everything planned to
for backstory, I kind of would start with a couple of formative events and then build on those and what your responses to other things would have been because of those, and then kind of work like that, kind of creating what an actual person turns out as, because we are the result of our life experiences. So
yeah, of course. Yeah, humanizes it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think once you actually have that built, you can kind of get the character better in your head. So whenever you're actually playing it, you respond more naturally and you're not having to overthink everything.
Yeah, or doing what some characters do, which is roll against their alignment or their bonds and flaws. Which is what some people do. I think, if you can... once I know... when I know I've done a good job, and we've done a good job together, is when players no longer have to roll to see if they would or wouldn't do a thing. They can think, okay, this is who they are, they do this. So yeah, definitely having those experiences to draw on definitely helps with that. It stops them being a trope and it turns them into a person, definitely.
Yeah.
Speaking of beautiful queens, Aphrodite.
Yes, darling.
What makes a good backstory for you?
Well, I think about me, actually, instead of the character at the beginning. So I say, what does Emily want from this game? So depending on the game, I sort of go, okay, the last character I played was really sort of dark and broody and moody and evil. So do I want this time to be something a bit funny, a bit lighthearted? And then from that, I do a really loose backstory, like what happened. And then I just let the game sort of mold me. Like I generally start off with a loose idea of what I want. And then, so for example, my character in another LARP system originally was going to be sort of this dark, kind of not evil, but kind of a little bit edgy. Yeah. She's totally the opposite. She's the most caring, nurturing person ever, but that's just how she evolved to be. Yeah. So I don't like to be restricted by rigid backstory. I like to have a couple of objectives that my character wants.
So fully embracing the no encounter survives contact with the players or the GM kind of attitude. Because it doesn't, it's going to go different. So fully embracing that if I have such a solid backstory, then it's going to have to be fluid anyway. Yeah. Fair.
And I mean, sometimes that has bad things because I'll react. So sometimes I'll be like, am I reacting as my character or am I reacting as Emily? Sometimes that gets confusing. So I think I could do with a bit more rigidity. Was that a word?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I could do with a bit of rigid.
I'm not a languager, and we know. Moving on.
Yeah.
Bernice, you speedy boy. What makes a good backstory for you?
I love the fact that you say speedy because my internet's really being slow. So I actually generally go personally for really simple backstories. A D&D character I'm currently playing, it has literally, he wanted fame, he left his hometown, he's a bard. That's about it. I go really simple. In LARP, it's got tagged in. Okay, cool. There's often generally something deeper into it. Like the character itself forms its own story, as has been said, that as it goes along, and you find out and you learn more about it by playing. But
so
when
you
I come
kind of
in,
create the personality based on how you react and how the story goes, rather than having an idea beforehand.
I mean, there's I try and give, as to backstory, the most simplest thing. Like I also really quite like backstories where the parents are still alive.
That's
like
always a
you've
good
got,
backstory.
I almost always have. Well, what's your home life like? Oh, I bet you're another lonely orphan. Nope. Family's happy and good. They're back there. They don't really approve of my life choices, but it's okay.
We're gonna have Sunday dinner later after we've killed this manticore or whatever. Yeah, fair.
As a DM, though, yeah, you're right. Like being given backstories relieves a lot of that kind of like, where am I going to take the story pressure?
Yeah.
And you take those ideas and you just explode them into. I was going to say explode them into their faces.
We'll get to Dionysus soon. So Hera, Eddie, what makes a good backstory for you?
Kind of a mixture of what everyone has said, really, which is kind of a bit of a cop out for me. But I agree with Jack that as a plot writer, that it really is helpful when you're writing plot and someone says, "Oh, I really like this because of this in my backstory," and you're like, "Oh, okay," and they go with it, and then you think, you know what, I'm going to tweak it a bit so that it's a lot better for that person. You don't want to tweak it too much because obviously you're trying to make it fun for everyone.
Yeah,
but you can fit it in and have it follow a little bit of a line for them to give them more fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we have one player that kind of said to me, "What gaps do we have?" and then wanted to fill those gaps, for example. So yeah. It's
good.
Yeah, it's a very empathetic way of doing things, which is weird for Hera.
This is Eddie speaking here.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, and Eddie is amazing. No matter how much shade we throw at Hera, we would all jump in front of anything.
We love Eddie.
We love Eddie. Yeah. I have to say this every episode because otherwise people just throw so much shade at you and I feel bad. But you know.
Hey, I think you'll find that the comments people were saying about the shade being thrown last time were me throwing shade at someone else. I won't say who.
That's fair enough. Fuck you then. No one cares what you say. Moving on. Hephaestus, what makes... briefly, actually, we're going to have a quick pause there. Well, you go, because I need to go and get a certain surprise that arrived today, and I just remembered.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It just reminded me, talking of the god of forges and probably carpentry. Crafting. It reminded me there is a special surprise. So in the meantime, I'm going to give a topic. Let me think of a topic to keep you guys entertained.
Well, we know the last two, isn't it? Just Hephaestus and Dionysus.
Yeah, if you guys want to continue, and I'll be right back in a second. I just didn't want to leave you guys and not respond. But yeah, Hephaestus, if you want to explain, actually, before you go into the main thing of what makes a good backstory for you, give us a little insight into what makes a good villain for you, because I know Bren is very good at playing the villains, and that could kill a good half an hour.
So to tell you all why he said that, so I play Loki in one of our LARP systems, and I've played a number of other villains over the years. And generally when someone wants to say the words, "We need someone to be a prick at them," and I'm cleaning that up, they send me. What makes a good villain? I think the most important things to remember is they're people. So they have to have a reason why they're doing what they're doing. It can't just be "Wahaha, panto villain." That's boring and tedious, and it's not fun. And it doesn't give players a depth to role play against, because there's nothing better than... So I ended an arc where I'd played a villain for 4 years against a faction recently. And after 4 years of me constantly showing up and bullying them and badgering them and belittling them, they found out his backstory finally in the last thing, because I revealed it. And at the end of it, a bunch of players who'd spent years hating me turned around and said, "We actually feel really bad for him and can see why he's done what he's done." So I think, beautiful. Yeah, Emily was actually involved in that. And making a good villain is all about making sure that they're people, and they have to have all the connections that people have. If you don't have that and you don't know how they'll react to things, then there's no point. But the most important thing about being a villain is making them want to kill you but too scared to do it. And not scared because you're some overstated, over the top thing, because they don't know what you can do or how you'll respond. And that's that level of, oh my God, we don't know what's going to happen, gives the players their heroic moments where they're able to go, okay, I'm going to take a shot. And it might also sometimes teach them wrong time to take a shot.
So be unpredictable.
Which is an important lesson to learn.
Yeah. Which I think the players may have already had a glimpse of. So yeah,
Tension.
I will show the surprise after we finish this little segment. But before we move on from Bren, the amazing, what makes a good backstory for you?
So actually I'm writing a backstory for the moment for a character for a vampire game. Currently it sits at 7 A4 pages. Because it's a vampire game. I've written his family back history from the Salem witch trials and drawn an entire family chart down. Because the DM I've had for numerous games, and the more you give him, the more plot he throws out at you, the more interesting the world gets, the more stuff you get to do. And stuff will just sideswipe you from all angles. It's like being at a party with Aphrodite. Things just fly at you from everywhere.
Sticks.
But it's Bren can say it. But it's, for me, it's always about, I like to go into depth with characters because the more I give my DM, the more they give me back.
And that's a general rule.
Afraid. Yeah, never ever be afraid. And this is the one that I love emphasizing more. Never be afraid to actually try something that you're afraid of with a character. Because my confidence and most of the humor that I've gotten through my life have been through playing things that I've never, ever wanted to play. And like, I get up and do stand-up comedy in front of entire crowds of rooms. I have freaking no self-confidence. But LARPing and tabletop taught me to be confident because my characters were confident.
Yeah. It's almost like sticking your toe in the water before you become a normal person. Do it as a real person.
Yeah, I played an assassin for 14 years in the system. And
now he assassinates people for real. Because he's got that confidence.
And a knife.
That helps.
Oh, no, wait. It's a pen.
Sorry, go on.
But yeah, that's it for me, is never be afraid to try something new. And if it doesn't always work out the way you want to, try it a different way. And this is the important one. Don't play something just because it fits in with the way someone else wants you to play.
Yeah.
Play what you want to play and enjoy your damn game.
Definitely. If a DM is trying to get you to change what character idea you have too much, not good. Fitting into the setting is fine. Encouraging character growth is fine. Getting you to change something for their own reasons because maybe they want you to fit into their story more. Maybe they've got an idea for a story and they really needed like a sage character and they need you to be more of that character. If they really want that, they'll make an NPC. A good DM will like you say, will facilitate your fun. So if you've got an idea, even if it's out there, pitch it to your DM, and at the most, they might just adjust it. They're never going to just flat out say no.
No, they shouldn't.
Oh yeah, they shouldn't. And if they do, think about if that's a game you want to be in, or think about if maybe they can change, or show them this clip, and they'll hopefully we'll turn them around. So yeah, last but not least, speaking of dicks, and fornication, and all the other innuendos we made along the way, Dionysus, or Xander, what makes a good backstory for you?
So when it comes to actually writing a character for a LARP system, because that's, literally in the flesh, I tend to try and write the character with a trait that I want to develop myself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what Brendan's saying to a degree, in that I will pick something about them based on something that I want to sort of adopt from that character, a trait I want to adopt from that character, and then I'll flesh it out from there. Okay. But one thing I always try and avoid, because I think it's a bad habit that a lot of people adopt, I think partially television's the problem, because television, episode 1 is never the character's childhood. It's always the inciting incident that sets them off on the journey to do whatever they're going to do. And therefore, a lot of backstories tend to start at the inciting incident, the thing that has made the character have a purpose to go and do this thing or fight these people or hate this person.
Everything before that point will be one paragraph.
Yeah.
Here's the boring bit out of the way. Here's the cool bit. Yeah.
I always try and make the circumstances of the character's birth as important as the inciting incident. So a character I'm playing at the moment in a tabletop game I'm in, he is from Yorkshire. He grew up dirt poor, but was the illegitimate offspring of someone far wealthier, but didn't know it until he was 16.
Yeah.
Went and found that person at 16 and they rejected him. So everything about his life became, I'm going to get a ton of money and live it up because I deserve it by right, but I wasn't given it.
Yeah,
so those kind of circumstances of their birth, I think, should be as impactful as the inciting incident.
And something I would mind adding to that is it doesn't always have to be that the circumstances of their birth are something as grandeur as that. It can be that they were raised as a farmhand, they were always a farmhand, and then things only changed when they were forced out. And that exciting incident is exciting, but them being raised as an ordinary, a farmhand, even though it's not exciting in terms of story, still gives a lot of information as who they are as a person. They're probably hardworking. They appreciate what they have. They probably have good bonds with family, not afraid to get their hands dirty. It tells you as much about them as the exciting stuff does. The exciting stuff just tells you in people's extremes.
Yeah, and therefore also...
I just want to know.
Oh, sorry.
Did you say being born in Yorkshire was exciting? Okay, Emily, you were a teacher. You should appreciate that I did that.
All right, everyone, fingers on lips. We're going to move on. So yeah, before we move on to the next...
How many people did that?
It's just ingrained. Before we move on, though some of you may be aware, some of you may not be aware, but for episode 1 of Reign of Olympus, we turned it into a stream for charity. And we were asking for any donations to, rather than go to us, went to CALM, which it stands for Campaign Against Living Miserably, and they are a mental health charity. They do a lot of great work. Something that I did before then to try and help and raise awareness was I contacted a few companies asking them to share things on their social media. And some companies did that. Some were really nice. One company, instead of doing that, offered to give us a prize. Sadly, because they're an American company, the prize didn't get here until today, which is after the stream, but that just gives us another opportunity to do a drive for CALM. And so the company itself was any Critical Role fans or fans of just good wood, looking at you, Aphrodite, will know of Wormwood Gaming. And Wormwood Gaming was so nice as to donate a prize for the charity stream of this amazing Purple Heart magnetic dice vault. I can't, yeah, I cannot sing its praises enough. Yeah, Purple Heart is the one that everybody goes mental for. It is, it's magnetically sealed, it's padded, it'll keep your favourite dice in there. It is hand carved, it is amazing. It was made by Josh, or promised by Josh. So thank you very much, Josh from Wormwood Gaming.
Thank you, Josh.
Honestly,
cheers, man.
Yeah, the retail price for these things, $75.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we've got one of these to give away. And again, even though the charity stream is over, I'm going to announce this again on our social media, and we're going to have the donate button on social media to donate to CALM. And as running that page, I know whoever donates to that page, I have a list of those people. So all you need to do is donate. It doesn't matter how little the amount is. It can be £1, it can be £100. It can be anything in between or more, or whatever you donate to on that page to CALM, and your name will be put into a raffle. And then I'd say next, not tomorrow's stream, but probably the stream after, I'll do a reminder in the next match of the Deity, but in just over a week's time, we'll announce the winner of that raffle, and whoever it is will be sent that purple heart dice vault. For those of you that want to look at it again, which is me, because up until I send it, I'm just going to be like looking at it and try not to touch it too much.
Oh, clean it for the love of God.
I will, but yeah, look at that. It is honestly, it's fully hand carved, polished. It is perfect. I cannot sing its praises enough.
Feist dismayed. Just
It is gorgeous.
Better than the best is me.
Official Wormwood. Thank you so much, Wormwood Gaming. Yeah, they sent this to us for free to help aid Calm.
Thank you, Wormwood.
Wormwood are amazing. Calm are amazing. They do amazing work. So yeah, please donate. You will put anybody that donates will be put into that raffle, and I will send it out first class on Thursday. Let me just check the date for you. Calendar is not working. So yeah, Thursday the 28th, I will send that off first class after announcing on the 27th who's won, and you will have your own Wormwood Gaming Purple Heart Dice Vault. So yeah, thank you very much.
Luke, a reminder that you do...
I do it every 2 weeks.
Yep.
I've had a lot of wine. It will be
So it'll be the week after. It'll be the 4th.
It will. It will be the 4th of April after our stream on the 3rd. I also film for other stuff on the Wednesday. Don't ask. It's not safe for work. Which gives...
It's okay. It's okay. Messenger here. I can help.
Yeah, which is good. That gives 2 weeks to donate. So yeah, even if you can't afford it this week, I know for a lot of people, end of the month paydays and things. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be £1. I'm not going to be like, oh, you donated so much money. That means you're definitely winning it. It will be a fair raffle. Obviously, the more money we can raise, the better. But I'll announce how much we raised and the winner. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Right, moving on from the soppy stuff. Something just to finish off. Something that I know. Again, for those of you that don't know, last session, Mercy, who won the favour first time, got into a what I like to call a sass-off with Isadora, who was one of Dionysus's wards, familiars, workers.
Council members.
Council members, there you go, yeah.
Station, yeah.
During a sass-off, Mercy insulted Dionysus himself by implicating that Dionysus should do his own work if he didn't trust others to do it. We've gone into that a little bit. I don't want to go into it too much because things will happen. Consequences will be consequences. And we all understand that the gods don't like it when you do that. As you can see, Ares is brandishing his shaft.
No. We're horrible to each other, but you're not allowed to do it.
Yes.
Nope.
I don't want to go around person by person. Go for it.
No, can I just point out, he only did it, she only did it while under 3 of your favors. I'll just point that out. 3 of you had given them your favor. So you kind of insulted Dionysus a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not taking the insult from any of you, don't worry. Though, for her...
Yeah, that is something to... Yeah, Sassplosion, definitely. But yeah, that is something to note is... Again, I think it was definitely in character. Speaking from an out of character, just for a second before we get into it, it was definitely in character. So by no means are we like scolding Jim. Jim did an amazing
job.
No! It was brilliant role.
Yeah.
So before we move on, I don't want to discourage anybody that would do a similar thing. Jim did amazingly. Mercy, however, done goofed, especially in a campaign where the gods are obviously in ancient Greek culture. Gods would be blessed and thanked several times a day. It wouldn't be a case of
just a lack of that.
Yeah, which is what I want to move on to. I want to speak to you guys about, rather than telling them off for not doing it properly, I want to get your guys' opinions on, in Elysium, in this setting, which is very reminiscent of ancient Greece, with you guys, physically there to stick a foot up there behind if they don't do right. How are they best going about making sure that they please the gods in their day-to-day?
Presents.
Presents are good.
Okay, would you two like to elaborate on that? So,
who's you two?
Yeah, well,
the two that said
presents. So Aphrodite and Dionysus.
Well, gifts. Ask for forgiveness. Is it called? Devotees, where you devote something or give something to the gods to ask for forgiveness. Penance.
Yeah.
Praying. Just compliments.
Yeah. So yeah, this is from an in-game, like in character and out of character advice on a system where the gods are there more and more involved. Because it can be hard. Because in a lot of high fantasy games, there can be a lot of not necessarily atheists, but people that don't believe the gods matter as much. And I know one of our characters is like that. But in a game where it's very much hard to avoid that, what advice would you give as your god? So how can they praise you? And as a person and an experienced role player, what advice can you give them that doesn't necessarily turn the game into, oh, by the way, 1 second, I just have to thank the gods, and break the play up? But yeah, incorporating that into their role play without compromising their character. So yeah, two sides. We won't go around everyone because we're running out of time, but anybody that wants to raise a point, if you want to raise your hand. Dionysus?
So I would say it would be, if, for example, if you're doing a specific thing that, say, you are trying to avoid a really, really bad hangover, you should ask Dionysus to help you out with that. And if he does, you should say thank you. Because the thing is, the gods are very present because the Olympians, in a fundamental way, which is different from some gods, particularly in D&D, are people. They aren't natural forces. We have personalities. We have preferences.
Yeah.
The way you worship Dionysus is through theatre and partying and enjoying yourself and giving him wine. You don't necessarily worship, say, Hera the same way. It wouldn't go over well. The way you worship Hephaestus would be by creating a masterwork of craft and dedicating it to him. You try and do something that's specific to the god and to their personality. Or you just tell Aphrodite she looks pretty.
Yeah. So yeah, in general, it doesn't have to be a taking time out to do it. It can be you've done something that, a god of this thing could have blessed me, maybe. Just thank them for it. And that could be thank Dionysus that I remembered to drink water in between all that wine. Something like that. Okay, I know.
Never remember that.
Yeah, Hephaestus.
This temple's as beautiful as Aphrodite's.
Yeah, just using it in conversation more might help. Yeah. Hephaestus, you've had your hand up. Well done.
Yeah, see. One of us knows.
His arms work, even if his legs don't.
And whose fault is that, Hera?
To be fair, they have to. I'm carrying so many of these fuckers. Backpack's just heavy. What I would say is not only that, but part of the thing I'd say always have in the back of your mind is it's the best way I can think of it is if you literally had your biggest teacher from when you were young standing in front of you, who you respected, who taught you everything you know, would you honestly just turn around and go, sod off you? You wouldn't. You talk to them a certain way and you give them that respect. Whether they're there or not, you'd give them a level of respect. And I think that's something that's been kind of that is missing in a way. Yeah. Because, as was said, for me, it's anything that you create that's beautiful, Hephaestus will, that's his interest. And it doesn't even have to be something you dedicate to him. Something beautiful in the world, that's how Hephaestus sees I'd see an improvement in the world.
Yeah.
So just because you don't realize that a god enjoys it or likes it doesn't mean that you haven't just venerated a god. So be careful of that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe just being more aware that the gods are around, and whilst they might not be watching you yet, that doesn't mean that they won't hear about it, especially if they're in town. And they've hired you.
I think specifically one thing to remember with us lot as well is in addition to being gods, we're a family. Yeah. Meaning that, like Hera so aptly pointed out, we may not always get on with each other, but we have very different rules for the way we can treat each other than the way you can treat us.
Yeah. Okay, speaking of, Hera, you've had your hand up nicely. What would you like to make a point?
For once I was asking nicely. Another thing I was going to say is that just remember that if you're in that god's city, then maybe try not to be quite so rude about that god.
Yeah,
yes,
we'll call again.
and
We'll call that what it is. And
yes,
but, yeah.
but being rude to their followers, then that's fine. It's another person, you can be rude to them, but just don't bring the god themselves into it.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't hurt to remember, as previously mentioned by Dionysus, what they are the god of as well. For example, things that they like. So, and just occasionally, so if you see something that the god would like, to maybe just kind of give it to them or bring it to their attention or something like that. Just little things. It doesn't even have to be anything big. Yeah, and as a thing, but Hera likes kitty cats.
Tip your merchant.
To be fair,
Emily.
To be fair, Hera likes animals. She likes pets. Full stop. Come on, training animals to kill Hercules. She must be she likes them.
Sorry, I can only half listen to what you're saying when you have a cute kitty cat next to you. But yeah, on that, that's something that I'm going to try and do as well to help players, because not all. Oh, come on!
Yay!
Because not all players.
I'm going to go rob a neighbour's cat. I'll be back in a minute.
my kittens are downstairs, but yeah, not all players may know about what gods. Not everyone is as big a nerd as we are when it comes to Greek mythology, for example.
They should be.
They should, yes, definitely. But something I'm going to do as a DM is when they make a check is possibly, if they make if they try and pick a lock, I'll say make a sleight of hand check, and then in my narrative I'll say you silently thank Hermes, for example, and I'm going to try and bring that more into them to kind of help that as well. So I think some of it is, as players and massive classics nerds, we know about ancient Greece, but not everyone will know that. So I'm going to actively as well help them know more about the gods, so they know who to thank. Ares, I know your arm must be going dead by now. Do you want to?
Oh no, I'm just leaning now.
That arm must be going dead by now.
Rude.
Spoilers.
So, I also would say that
I just got it.
I would also say that when you go in to do something important, it is worth calling on a god that has something to do with that. So
I thought you might say something like,
yeah. So if that is going to go like a powerful, you are in an arena and you've come against up into the final, you would call on Ares. If you are doing a master craftsman's workmanship, you would call on Hephaestus. So you wouldn't do it all the time, because otherwise the god will get bored and won't listen to you all the time. But when you go for something important, that is probably when you would go and yes, I need to use something for this god.
A prime example of that is if you're about to go into battle. Most religions will make a prayer to some sort of god to aid them in that battle, especially someone like Runt. Yeah, Athena would. Runt would pray to Ares. Someone searching wisdom in battle would possibly pray to Athena. Someone that's about to do like a complex ritual might pray to Hecate for her arcane knowledge. Something that matters. We do it. Those of us in real life that are religious, if we're about to go for a job interview, or if a family member is ill or something like that, we might make a prayer to whichever god we believe in, doing the same kind of thing, like you say, as in the setting, which, unless you're a cleric or a paladin, not everyone will do in like high fantasy games. And even if you are a cleric or a paladin, in high fantasy games, I find that some players can forget that their class is based on an actual god. Which is something, especially with you guys there, that they are not going to be able to forget in this game, because it's such a big part of the world.
The gods are watching.
The gods are watching. Apollo, you have your hand up there.
Same as Retsum say, but also, why did your player, choose to follow that god? Is there a reason? If your character's following that god for a specific reason, just think of what that god wants you to do.
Yeah.
Honor them in that way. You do by right, do what your god would do in that situation. If God can have an angry side, or that's something he would do in that situation, or I would take it from there.
Yeah. I like that. So basically, don't just think about what you can get from your god. Think about what your god might want you to do.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street, especially in it's not a classic omnipotent, omniscient god that just gives guidance. These are humanized Greek gods especially, for Hecate, for example, who has we'll get to you in a second, I promise. It's a give and take relationship. She makes pacts with people. Yes, they might help you, but in return, you're gonna at least have to sacrifice a goat or some shit. Same with, and we've given Mercy some shade on this because she sassed Dionysus, but she did. She asked Persephone for her help, which was very good, and it gave some good role play and it gave a good aspect there. In return, maybe you think about what would Persephone want from her in return for that. Whilst it's not so much a give and take, it is, and it might be more of a nurturing relationship. They still might want something from you. They might have a destiny for you, and think about that. If you're a follower of Ares, for example, it might be another way for you to help remember what you would do in that situation. If you're in a fight or flight situation, Runt might think, okay, Ares would want me to fight, and that can help you there. So yeah, like you say in Apollo, don't just think about what you would do. Think about what your god is about. Speaking of Hecate, what you had a point as well?
It was more something that's more traditional to the setting would be offerings, but I know obviously not necessarily people are going to leave all of their gold for any of the gods or anything like that. But in theory, it doesn't need to even be a temple. If you see something that's potentially of exceptional interest to a god, so you could maybe chance getting their favor. You could leave it somewhere that's relevant, yeet something into the sea if you think Poseidon might like it.
Yeah, fair.
Leave something by your campfire if you think that Hestia might like it.
So convenient
leave something in a grotto.
offerings.
Yeah, offerings that are there that you might not necessarily need, because with the type of party that we have, not everyone's going to use everything that they find.
Yeah, of course. And something that reminded me of actually is the leading stream about this Critical Role, which everybody watching this will know. Some of you might not know that season 2 there is a cleric Jester who worships a trickster god, and although she prays to that and she's quite good at that, one thing that she does is if there's an opportunity to be tricksy and be cause mischief and it's appropriate to do so, she'll do that. And it doesn't take her out completely. Sometimes she'll actively search for things to do, but sometimes it'll be just an opportune moment. There was one where it's there was a shop called Front and Back, so on the sign she put a dick on the front and an arse on the back. It's just an opportune thing. It doesn't always, like you say, it doesn't always have to be, right, get up in the morning, thank the gods, sacrifice an animal, give my offering. It could just be, that's a really nice thing. I'll dedicate that to my god because they will appreciate that. That I will protect that dog, and I will give thanks to Hecate as the goddess of hounds for that. Things like that.
As the god of trade and merchants, Hermes is very happy for you just simply to just tip a little bit after a trade. I fully expect you to try and haggle the crap out of that person, but afterwards, a tip.
And even if that tip doesn't go
action,
if that tip doesn't go to the merchant, you might give the money that, for example, you haggled someone down from 10 gold to 9 gold. That extra gold could go in a well for Hermes. Something like that. Yeah. We will go at Stu, so Poseidon, then Aphrodite, and then we'll go to voting because we are running out of time. But Poseidon, go for it.
Just to follow up on a couple of things. Yes, offerings and calling upon us is really, really good, but also we are very temperamental gods, so the more you poke us with offerings and calling on our favor, you're going to get our attention. And then if you mess up, we're watching, so you just have to be careful how often you call us as well. I think we're going to get annoyed if you call us too much.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of balance. I mean,
new god, who did?
As much as Poseidon is known for his rationality and calm temperament. Why is it this year's doing, by the way? Yeah, just careful with the devil. The devil is a phrase for a reason.
Yeah, I get what you mean. So it's because something I've kind of been worried about is because of what we do with Match of the Deity, and you guys are players, and you're also in the world. You got to remember it's 3 different realities. So as it is now, I know that as we're talking now, for example, you guys are like saying, "Oh, this player did really well doing this," or "This player really shouldn't have done that." But for the most part, once it's in the game, the only 2 of you guys that would actually know about any of this are Dionysus and Persephone, because she was prayed to. And possibly Poseidon will possibly know of Gavriel's existence, but might not be paying attention right now. It's a weird, like, again, you got to treat it almost like a different realities, parallel, like multiverse theory. Because although we talk about it for Match of the Deity, which is a talk show, this is for entertainment. Whereas in the game world, you guys are gods. You know, you're busy people. You're not going to be paying attention to every single mortal on Elysium. So unless they've brought you like your attention, you're not going to give it. It's like you were saying, if you're going to bring that attention, yeah, I know. I'm sure they'll.
Does that mean I can't put a scorpion in her bed then?
Not yet, because like I say, you don't know she exists.
And I'm not telling Kira about. I'm not going to go crying to Hera, going, "Someone said mean things about me." That's
Whatever.
it's usually Hera.
They'll tell me.
So yeah, using
To be fair, I would probably react in the way I have reacted, which is no, only I'm allowed to be mean to you.
yeah, but yeah, that is a prime example. So Dionysus knows, for example, that Mercy gave him a slight. None of the other gods know that because you guys don't know about these random mortals in Dionysus.
Apollo and Hermes and Dionysus have totally gone out drinking since this, and we found out.
Yeah, but you've forgotten by then because of how drunk you got.
No, do you know what's really, do you know what's actually the thing that's probably the most hurtful for Mercy is she's not actually that big a deal in Dionysus's day.
But no, I know it's sass, but that's then a burnt. But that is true. These are these are a level 2 party that all they've done is investigate a festival.
Well, most of them.
I think that's
most of them are level 2. Yeah, sorry, Run.
One of them is not.
Run hasn't slept.
That's something to think about, you know. But the more, like Poseidon said, the more you talk to the gods, the more they're going to be like notice you.
Yeah.
So whilst now offerings might not be a bigger thing, once the gods start taking notice, they're going to want more reverence because they are, sorry guys, egotistical, narcissistic, humanized gods. Speaking of egotistical, narcissistic, humanized, Aphrodite, final point, and then we'll move on to
What, me? I don't know if it might have been mentioned already, possibly, but you don't have to give offerings just to the god that you worship, align with. So for example, just say for what I know, one of the player party worships Persephone. You don't just have to give offerings to Persephone or pay compliments to that god,
or even pray to that god.
Yeah. One point was made by Runt, who said Ares is the only god worth noticing. I took note of that. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else did.
Yep.
I have now.
Yeah, definitely.
So my ears instantly pricked up and was like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
So just keep it in mind that the other gods are important.
Yeah. In a lot of paganistic religion, you know, you wouldn't just you might worship a certain god, but you know that, for example, you might worship Apollo. You might live in Delphi, you might worship Apollo. But if you're about to go into a fight, you might not want the blessing from the god of healing.
Archery and war tactics, well, like, you know.
Just off the top of my head. But
Just join Apollo.
You know, you
just remember when you need to pray to me.
Yeah, you know, which is whenever she starts getting upset and having a paddy.
Whoa! Having a paddy?
I knew. You
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, having a Patrick, is that better?
It was a
Well said,
holy
well said.
day.
That's gone. Right. We need to wrap things up because once again we have overrun. I'm not complaining because you're all beautiful and I like looking at you. But
It's okay, we started late, so.
True. Yeah, that was. I don't know whose fault that was.
Are we going to finish the stream on this channel or another one?
Who knows? I haven't decided yet. I might. You know, have you guys got channels? I can stick it on there. So yeah, we'll go. Let's go left to right. Giving a brief reason. I'm not going to hurry you, but don't monologue it. who gets your favour this week and why? So, Dionysus, why does Mercy get your favour?
I was going to make that joke. Just to
world.
make her worry about what's going to happen, what it means. I would probably give my favour to, it's a toss-up between Alma and Gavriel. I still think she's got room to grow, but I think this time it's going to have to be Gavriel because I think he was diplomatic, he was competent, and he held himself well. He held his own well, and I appreciated that. So he gets my favour.
Okay.
He gets my favour this time.
Well done, Gavriel. Hephaestus, you voted for Alma last time, if I remember rightly.
I did, yeah.
Has that changed?
So this one's going to be controversial. So last time it was Gabriel, Runt, Mercy, and Alma got my favour. Mercy got 3 votes, Runt 2, and Gabriel 1. I'm going to vote for Mercy, and the reason before you all kick off
He always does this.
Because you're
is because I believe in giving people a chance to create something good from something not so good.
That's why he's married to me.
So I will give Mercy the chance, if others will as well, to improve on what happened last time and move forward. If they mess up, however, I'll throw them under a mountain.
That is fair. And there are mountains to spare in Vulcan. Maybe not other places. Spoilers. Hera. There was an incident. Hera. Or will be an incident, depending on the timeline. Hera, who gets your favour this week and why?
My favour this week is going to go to Alma, because she did improve, and as has already been pointed out, the 13-year-old pointed out that Mercy was being a twat. And if she could notice it, then I think Mercy should have noticed that they were being silly as well.
I think Mercy did notice.
She knew. But yeah, Alma, she did improve. She's still got plenty of room to grow, and also I do think she is adorable. So
fair. Hermes, who gets your vote this week and why?
Alma, tactical awareness in the battlefield, being able to kind of keep an eye out for potential help and trouble coming in from the outside, and tactical awareness in Mercy's significant cock-up, and curiosity, favour for curiosity about what this beast form thing can do. Play with that. That'll be fun.
Fair. Aphrodite.
Well, this is a hard one because I think
Aphrodite likes a hard one.
I was going to vote Gabriel. Is that how you pronounce his name? Gabriel?
Who knows?
Gabriel.
I said Gavriel, and then he said it was wrong. I don't fucking know.
Because of his tactics.
Yeah,
but
like I say, he did redeem himself.
Also, I just feel like none of them deserve my favour. I have had no presents. I haven't had any gifts. I've had no prayers or gifts or my name mentioned once. So I'm not going to give anybody my favour this week.
Well,
one day it's been.
Yeah. It has been one day. But still, it's Aphrodite, and it is perfectly understandable that she is not going to give anybody anything if she doesn't get some.
Hey, in one day, you can do a lot of things. You can kill a spider, and then you can pray to Aphrodite.
It is fair. I'm not going to argue. You could attack me with doves or make me orgasm to death or something.
Technically, the only person who's demonstrated that ability at this point is me.
Fair. Again,
that you know of.
Again, guys, you needed to be there, but you weren't. So fuck you. That's how you get audience. Tell them to fuck off. Hecate, save me. Who do you vote for and why?
I'm gonna give the boring answer. I'm gonna go for Gavril because consistent.
Yeah, fair. And I don't think he didn't have the creepiness this time.
Well, no, I don't think he initially had the creepiness. Like, he was worried about the roaming dog and the small child. Like, it doesn't have to be creepy.
Fair.
It was.
It doesn't have to be, but jury's out. Apollo, again, you look fucking amazing. So I can't get over it. It's the backdrop. You're outdoing us all. Who do you vote for and why?
Yeah.
Rob probably needs it because he keeps missing. It's terrible in combat. I'd probably go for Alma because she's playing very well. She's the 13-year-old, bit nervous in the group, static awareness, but she wants to get away from the group sometime because she's not too sure what they're like. She is 13. She's like, I don't know if these adults.
Yeah.
Gabrielle was very close. He was smart, but again, they're not watching each other. Alma seems to be the one more caring about the party during the combat.
Okay.
Some people can drop him, but I go for Alma.
Okay. So, yep. Now it's the god of, quite a caring god, as it is, you're going to vote for the one that cares. Ares, are you going to redeem Runt with his no votes, or do you have a different opinion this week?
Runt needs to redeem himself before he gets votes.
Yeah, he did get dropped.
He tried.
Ooh.
He tried. He made it. He did make a nice acrobatic jump.
He did miss, but he did make a good jump.
He made a good jump, but then he missed, and he needs to put himself back in the fight, which I know he can do. So he has not got my favour this week. Alma did have good tactical awareness, however, I think leading the way combat and tactic wise is Gavriel.
Right, so we are neck and neck, Gavriel and Alma with 3 votes each, and we have Poseidon to vote.
Oh no, it's my boy Gabriel, because it's my boy.
Fair.
It's that predictable. Seriously, predictable.
You say predictable, but first episode we had predictable first one as well. I think everyone's first appearance you get to vote for your boy or your girl. Moving on, I might make you think about it a little bit more, but yeah.
So I'll just say that Hera saying predictable as a snide comment is kind of like Inception.
Oh!
Right.
Oh, my boy!
Oh, snail!
You're my boy, Blue! You're my boy!
So right, that has it then. Very, very close. But with 4 votes to 3 to 1 to none. Sorry, Runts. You're just not on a level yet.
Yeah, good run. I have to say though, he did really well when he broke the lock with his hands.
Yeah, I like that bit too.
All right, you
the
two.
Chat. Exact words are, I deserve that.
He knows.
Yep.
Again, something I tell the players every week. It's only been one of these so far, and now this one is: if you don't think you got to work for it, and hopefully these will make them work for it, if nothing else.
We're fickle fuckers.
You're really fickle.
We really are.
That is why. For those of you that don't know, so Gavriel, congratulations! You've won Favour of the Gods for this week.
Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. What that means is you have inspiration for the session. So how it works in my games is you guys, whether you're appearing in the game or whether it's during Match of the Deity, you will give favour, as you have done, to one of the players each time. That player then has inspiration for that session. If they don't use it by the end of the session, as Hephaestus said, the gods are fickle. So if you don't use the favour by the end of that session, then you lose it because they get bored.
And we'll get angry that you lost it.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yep.
So there will be inspiration each session, but it only lasts for the one. And because I don't like how inspiration normally works, basically. So yeah, I will wrap it up there because it is 25 past, and even with the late start, we've overrun past the hour, but that's okay because I love looking at you all, and these sessions are amazing. So thank you very much, guys. Are there any closing statements you guys want to make before we sign off?
Everything is going to be fine.
He's lying.
He is lying.
You need flames behind you for
Dick's
that.
out for Olympus, yeah.
Get better weapons.
Oh boy, yeah.
Donate the cams.
Be careful at sea.
Yeah, donate to Calm. Remember, donate. It will be on social media, hopefully this evening. I'll try and get it on this evening. If not, first thing tomorrow. Donate to Calm. You could be in the chance of winning the Purple Heart Wormwood Dice Vault, and helping out an amazing charity. So, yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Olympians, for blessing us with your presence. And thank you guys for watching. So until next time, please tune in tomorrow for the next session. It's going to be an interesting one. Think there's some paths they could take, and it's going to be fun to see that. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. If not, see you next time. And remember that we love you. Yes.
We'll love you.
Yeah.
Even you.
Love.
Love you.
Maybe not you.
Bye, guys.